Hello friends, and welcome to the channel, where we delve into the mind of a villain. In this entry, we'll be taking a look at Stinky Pete, the Prospector from Toy Story 2. Before there was Lotso, there was the Prospector, an equally jaded and disgruntled toy seething with resentment from the hard side of life. The film takes a deep dive into the question of whether it is better to be loved and lost than never to have been loved at all. For the Prospector, the latter portion of the saying rings true. As a vintage toy from the mid-20th century, the Prospector has lived a lifetime of disappointment. Given the date stamp on this magazine shows 1957, and combined with the fact that Andy watched Lightyear in 1995, the Prospector is at about 50 years old as at the time of Toy Story 2. Unfortunately, those 50 years resulted in the rejection complex that has come to characterize the Prospector. In a sense, the Prospector was a victim of his own origin. Out of all the characters in Woody's roundup, it's safe to say that he would have the least appeal among kids and would hardly be anyone's favorite character. Rather, it's likely his chief purpose for being manufactured as a toy was for the completion of the ensemble. The limited appeal gives rise to the Prospector's villainy. In his argument with Woody towards the end, he recounts being stuck on the shelf of a dime store watching every other toy be sold, while he was left behind to foster feelings of loneliness and resentment as the years pass. 50 years is a remarkably long age for a toy. The full scope of his experience isn't known, but we do know that the Prospector found rejection also through his personal observation, whether it's noticing that toys can be displaced at a whim, as was the case when space toys became all the rage, or through the stories of abandonment from toys like Jessie, when kids inevitably grow up. The culmination of his experiences would lead to one inevitable conclusion, that being a child's plaything is not worth it. Due to this worldview, the Prospector has only one goal in mind: to achieve immortality behind the safety of a museum display, free from the danger of abandonment or the decay of time. While he would never be personally loved, he would find contentment in simply being admired from afar. This goal puts him in direct conflict with Woody, who is still clinging on to the remaining years he has with Andy. Without Woody to complete the set, the ensemble is worthless, and he would be sent back into the dark abyss of storage. In his attempt to change Woody's mind, the Prospector relies on more subtle methods before he finally resorts to brute force at the end. Perhaps this is because he knows he will be with Woody at the museum for an indefinite period of time, and hence he doesn't wish to spend all that time in bad blood. These methods start off fairly innocuous, from turning on the television when Woody sneaks off, to stirring up fear by telling him that it's a dangerous world out there for a toy. After the cleaner fixes Woody's arm, he brings out the big guns by getting him to listen to Jessie's story of her own abandonment. After which, he goes in for the kill by reminding Woody that the clock is ticking and that soon he would face a fate similar to that of Jessie's. Throughout all his efforts, the Prospector's view is a compelling one, and could even be argued to be logically sound given his life experience. His prediction actually came true in Toy Story 3, which all the more lends credence to his perspective. He is an effective antagonist, as he comes in at a time when Woody is in doubt over his future with Andy, given his broken arm. Woody is convinced for a time, but eventually realizes with the help of Buzz that as a toy, life's only worth living if you're being loved by a kid. Even though he can't stop Andy from growing up, it is better to be loved for a time than to just simply exist forever in the vacuum of a display case. But since the Prospector never had the taste of being personally loved by an owner, he could not relate to Woody's desire. And how could he, given that all his life he has only known rejection, either personally or vicariously through the eyes of others? Now he abandons reasoning and resorts to brute force, risking his mint condition by venturing out of his box. In light of all this, is the Prospector a truly evil character? One could suggest that he was more of a victim, born to be rejected even since he was manufactured. His actions, while appearing hostile, could be argued to be for the overall benefit of his victims, preserving their lives and saving them from the uncertain fate that awaits most toys. But while his goal is logical, what makes the Prospector evil is that he is imposing his will on others and making their choices for them. Woody and Jessie have weighed out the risk and decided that having the chance to live out their purpose as toys, even if it's just for one more day, is worth the possibility of abandonment or even death. It all boils down to a simple conflict of ideologies, through no fault of either party. But the Prospector cannot let them go as his fate is tied to theirs. He unveils his evil side when he attempts to take Woody by force and implies that he would be willing to dismember him into pieces if that's what it takes to get him to Tokyo. Self-preservation is an understandable goal, but not when it involves willfully harming others who are simply following their own convictions as to what's best. At this point, it would have been better if he simply succumbed to the fate of going back into storage, but by then he was too consumed by rage. So what do you think of the Prospector, folks? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and take care.